First contact. The dust never seemed to settle on Corsica Prime. Commander Elena Reyes stood at the viewport of the colony's administrative center, watching as another gust of wind swept across the settlement, the reddish-brown particles dancing in the late afternoon light. 3 years of hard work had transformed the barren plateau into a functioning colony. 12 habitat domes, 3 hydroponics facilities, a medical center, and the mining operations that were the settlement's primary purpose. It wasn't pretty, but it was home to nearly 400 colonists who had gambled their futures on this distant world. Elena ran a hand through her short, graying hair and sighed. The latest supply ship was now 2 weeks overdue. Resource rationing had already begun, and she'd have to announce further restrictions tomorrow. "Commander," called a voice from behind her. The drilling team hit another deposit in Sector 7. Elena turned to see Thomas Ortiz, her geologist and second-in-command, clutching a datapad with barely contained excitement. "Don't keep me in suspense, Thomas. Good news, I hope. Better than good." He handed her the pad, his dark eyes gleaming. "It's the richest vein of stellanite we've found yet. Initial estimates suggest it's enough to justify our entire mission." Elena studied the readings, a smile slowly spreading across her face. Stellanite was rare throughout known space, a crystalline mineral with unique properties that made it invaluable for advanced propulsion systems. The discovery would secure Corsica Prime's future and vindicate the United Earth Colonial Authority's decision to establish a presence so far from the core worlds. "Have you informed Shen yet?" she asked. "He's already down there, practically hugging the drill core." Thomas laughed. "Says he wants to set up additional extraction points immediately. Tell him to proceed, but carefully. We need tow." The colony's alarm cut through her words, 3 long pulses followed by a sustained tone. Proximity alert. Something had entered orbit. The supply ship. Thomas suggested hopefully. Elena shook her head, already moving toward the communications center. "Wrong approach vector. This is coming from deep space." The colony's modest command center was already bustling with activity when they arrived. Amira Kapper, their communications specialist, was frantically working her console. "What are we looking at, Amira?" Elena demanded, leaning over the main display. "Unknown vessel, Commander. Massive energy signature, nothing like our ships. It's big. Really big." A holographic representation flickered to life above the central table. The ship, if it could be called that, resembled nothing in human design catalogs. It was roughly triangular, with what appeared to be 3 distinct sections connected by graceful, sweeping structures. The scale indicator made Elena's breath catch, nearly 2 kilometers from end to end. "Are they transmitting?" Amira nodded. "Yes, ma'am. Standard frequency, but it's not in any language I recognize. Run it through the xenolinguistic database," Elena ordered. The database contained all known alien languages and dialects encountered by humanity thus far. Admittedly a small sample, as true sentient alien contact had only occurred within the last century. Already did. No match. Amira hesitated, but they're repeating the message on a loop, and I think they're moving into lower orbit. Elena felt the weight of command settle heavily on her shoulders. First contact scenarios were thoroughly covered in colonial administrator training, but they were supposed to happen in controlled environments, with specialists and diplomats present, not on an isolated mining colony with limited defenses. "Broadcast our standard greeting package on all frequencies," she decided. "Visual, audio, and mathematical sequences." The minutes that followed were tense as the alien vessel continued its descent, eventually holding position approximately 50 kilometers above the colony. Elena had ordered all colonists to their designated safety areas and placed their modest security team on alert. Then, without warning, a new signal came through. "Commander," Amira called, excitement edging her voice. "They're responding, and in English." The command center's main screen flickered, and Elena found herself facing an alien being. Its head was elongated, with skin that appeared metallic in the bluish light of their ship. 4 eyes, 2 large primary ones and 2 smaller ones above, regarded her with unnerving steadiness. When it spoke, its mouth moved in ways that didn't quite sync with the words, suggesting some kind of translation technology. Human settlement, the being stated, its voice carrying an artificial timbre. I am Overseer Calvor of the Vexari Ascendancy. Your presence in this system is unexpected and unauthorized. Innovation. The frequency modulation needs to be precisely calibrated, Marcus insisted, gesturing at the holographic display. If we're off by even 0.02%, the resonance field collapses. Elena watched as her chief engineer directed the modification of their 6th gravitic drill into what he called a gravity well generator. The massive machine, originally designed to create localized gravitational fluctuations for extracting deep mineral deposits, now bristled with additional components salvaged from various colony equipment. In theory, this should create a region of distorted spacetime approximately 2 kilometers in diameter, Marcus explained, noting her interest. Any vessel entering the field will experience severe navigational disruption and structural stress. In theory, Elena repeated skeptically. Marcus grinned, the expression oddly boyish on his weathered face. I'd test it, but we only have 1 shuttle left, and I don't think Thomas would appreciate me breaking it. 20 days had passed since the Vexari ultimatum. 20 days of frantic preparation, improvisation, and increasingly improbable engineering. The defensive perimeter now included 4 repurposed mining lasers, 3 electromagnetic disruptors, and soon 6 gravity well generators strategically positioned around the colony. None of it would stop a determined attack from an advanced spacefaring civilization, but it might make them think twice about the cost. How's the integration with the alien technology progressing? Elena asked, nodding toward the far end of the workshop, where several engineers were studying components recovered from the ancient ruins. Marcus's expression tightened. Slowly, we understand maybe 5% of what we're looking at. It's like giving Stone Age humans a quantum computer. We recognize its technology, but the principles are beyond us. Keep at it, Elena encouraged. Every small advantage helps. Her comm unit chimed. Amira from Communications. Commander, our new Kalan friends have picked up something on their sensors. You might want to come see this. In the command center, Trinlask and the 2 other Kalan refugees stood around the main display, their sensory crests fully extended. A sign of alertness, Elena had learned. What have you found? She asked. Vexari scout vessels. Trinlask indicated several small signatures at the edge of their sensor range. Light reconnaissance craft, designed for stealth observation. They're early, Elena muttered. We still have 10 days until their deadline. The Ascendancy rarely gives warning before striking, said Shralven, the oldest of the Kalan refugees. These scouts suggest they are preparing a more substantial force. Over the past weeks, the Kalans had proven themselves valuable allies. Their knowledge of Vexari tactics and technology had helped refine the colony's defensive strategies, and their ship's more advanced sensors had significantly expanded Corsica Prime's early warning capabilities. How many? Elena asked, studying the faint signatures. 3 vessels, standard patrol configuration. Trinlask replied. They are maintaining high orbit, likely conducting detailed scans of your defenses. Elena tapped her comm. Marcus, accelerate the deployment schedule. We need at least 4 gravity wells operational within 48 hours. And Thomas, prepare evacuation protocol for non-essential personnel. The Kalan's translator device emitted a series of clicks before producing words. Commander, we may have an opportunity. Vexari scout vessels are lightly armed but highly maneuverable. If we could capture one. Capture? Elena raised an eyebrow. With what? Our mining shuttles aren't exactly built for space combat. Not combat, Trinlask clarified. Deception. Shralven was once a communications specialist in our defense force. He can transmit falsified authorization codes that might confuse their systems long enough for us to approach. Elena considered the risk. A Vexari scout ship would provide invaluable intelligence and potentially technologies they could adapt. But if the attempt failed, they would lose the element of surprise entirely. Detail your plan, she decided. If it's feasible, we'll consider it. Before Trinlas could respond, alarms blared throughout the command center. Amira scrambled to her station. Energy surged from the ruins, Commander. Massive power readings. Get a team there immediately, Elena ordered, already moving toward the exit. Marcus, meet me at excavation site Alpha. The ruins had changed. There was no other way to describe it. Sections of wall that had appeared solid the day before now revealed intricate patterns pulsing with soft blue light. The central chamber, a vast circular space they'd spent weeks clearing of sediment, now featured a raised platform that seemed to have emerged from the floor itself. Elena straightened, painfully aware that this exchange would likely become historical record. I am Commander Elena Reyes of the United Earth Colonial Authority. We established this colony 3 standard years ago, under UECA charter. We were unaware of any prior claim to this system. The alien, Kelvor, tilted its head slightly. Your ignorance does not negate our claim. The Corsica system, as you have named it, lies within Vexari territory, according to boundaries established long before your species achieved interstellar travel. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. We detected no signs of habitation or technological activity in this system prior to our arrival. Our surveys were thorough. The Ascendancy doesn't need to mark every star in its domain with beacons, Commander. This system has been charted in our navigational archives for 17 generations. There was a pause as the alien seemed to consult something off-screen. Your colony's activities have only recently risen to a level that triggered our automated monitoring systems. The stellanite, Elena realized. The increased mining operations had likely created signatures detectable from afar. We are a peaceful mining colony, she said carefully. We have no hostile intentions toward the Vexari or any other species. Intentions are irrelevant. You occupy Vexari space without authorization. Kelvor's secondary eyes narrowed slightly. However, the Ascendancy is not unreasonable. You will be granted 30 planetary cycles to cease operations, gather your possessions, and depart. Murmurs broke out around the command center. 30 cycles, barely a month in Earth Standard Time, to evacuate nearly 400 people and their equipment. It was impossible. Overseer, with respect, that time frame is insufficient for a full evacuation. We would need at least 30 cycles, Kelvor repeated firmly. After which, any humans remaining will be removed by Ascendancy forces. This is generous, Commander. Many within the consensus would have advocated for immediate removal. Before Elena could respond, Marcus Chen, the colony's chief engineer, burst into the command center. His jumpsuit was covered in reddish dust, and he was clutching a sample container. Commander, you need to see this. The stellanite in the new vein has properties we've never. He froze as he noticed the alien on the screen. Kelvor's 4 eyes focused intently on the container in Marcus's hands. You are extracting stellacite, the alien stated, using a different term for the mineral. We call it stellanite, Elena said carefully, noting the Vexari's sudden interest. Its name is irrelevant. Its presence explains much about your unauthorized settlement. Kelvor's tone hardened. This substance is classified as a strategic resource under Ascendancy law. Your extraction activities constitute resource theft in addition to territorial infringement. Elena saw Marcus clutching the sample tighter, a defiant look crossing his features. She gave him a warning glance. This was not the time for confrontation. We were unaware of your claim to this system or the mineral, Elena responded diplomatically. Perhaps we can discuss an arrangement that would. There is nothing to discuss, Kelvor interrupted. The Ascendancy's position is final. 30 cycles. Then we return with an appropriate force. The alien leaned closer to whatever visual sensor they were using. Be advised, Commander Reyes. The discovery of stellocyte extraction has elevated this matter to ascendancy security concerns. Resistance will be met with overwhelming force. The transmission cut abruptly, leaving the command center in stunned silence. They can't just order us to leave, Marcus said finally, his voice tight with anger. We've put everything into this colony. 3 years of work, our lives, our future. Elena turned to face her team, seeing the same mix of fear and indignation on every face. Thomas, I need a full inventory of our supplies and evacuation capacity. Amira, try to re-establish contact. We need to negotiate more time, at minimum. And if they refuse? Thomas asked quietly. Elena looked back at the view screen, now showing only the alien vessel hovering above their world. Then we have some difficult decisions to make. As the command team dispersed to their tasks, Marcus approached her, still holding the stellonite sample. There's something you need to know about this new deposit, he said in a low voice. It's not just the quantity. It's different. When exposed to our scanner frequencies, it exhibited energy absorption patterns I've never seen before. What are you suggesting? Marcus's eyes gleamed with the light of discovery. I'm saying this might be why they're so eager to get us out of here. This isn't just valuable. Elena, it might be revolutionary. And I think they know it. Elena stared at the unassuming crystalline material in the container, suddenly understanding that they had stumbled onto. As the assembly dispersed, Elena caught a glimpse of Marcus deep in conversation with his engineering team, already sketching designs on a shared tablet. She made her way to the exit, needing a moment alone, but was intercepted by Dr. Wong. They voted to stay because they trust you, Elena, Isabel said quietly. I hope that trust isn't misplaced. So do I, Elena replied honestly. Get your medical bay prepared for potential casualties. I hope we won't need it. But we'll be ready, Isabel assured her, squeezing her arm before walking away. Outside the dome, Elena took a deep breath of Corsica Prime's thin but breathable atmosphere. The perpetual dust had settled briefly after a light rain during the night, revealing the reddish-brown landscape stretching toward distant mountains. It was beautiful, in its harsh way, worth fighting for. Perhaps not in itself, but what it represented, humanity's reach into the stars, their future among them, that was worth everything. Her comm unit beeped. Commander, we're picking up a new signal. Amira's voice came through. Different from the Vexari ship. It's approaching from the outer system. Elena hurried back to the command center, where Amira was tracking the new contact. Classification? Elena asked, studying the trajectory. Small vessel, about the size of one of our shuttles. No weapons signature that I can detect. It's broadcasting a repeating message. Let's hear it. Amira activated the audio, and a gravelly voice filled the room. The language was unfamiliar, yet had an almost musical quality, with rising and falling tones. Running it through the translator, Amira said, typing rapidly. After a moment, broken phrases began to emerge. Request sanctuary, pursued by Vexari. Kalan refugees, peaceful intentions. Elena exchanged a glance with Thomas. Another alien species. Seems like it, he replied. And not on friendly terms with our Vexari visitors. The enemy of my enemy, Elena mused. Track their approach. Have a security team ready at landing pad 3, but no visible weapons. Let's not make them nervous. The alien shuttle was unlike any vessel Elena had seen before, organic in its design, with what appeared to be a living outer hull that pulsed subtly in the sunlight. It landed gracefully on the designated pad, settling lower than seemed possible for its size, as if it were exhaling. A portion of the hull rippled and parted, revealing 3 figures. They were tall, at least 2 meters, with slender bodies covered in what looked like fine scales in varying shades of blue and green. Their limbs were long and graceful, and their heads featured no visible external ears, but rather flaring sensory crests that shifted position as they surveyed their surroundings. The foremost alien stepped forward, revealing a translator device strapped to what Elena assumed was its throat. When it spoke, its mouth moved naturally, but the translated words emerged from the device. "I am Treenlask, navigator of the Light Seeker," the alien said. "We seek temporary refuge from Vexari aggression. We are Kalen, from the system you would call Proxima Ligonis." Elena stepped forward, keeping her hands visible. "I am Commander Elena Reyes. Welcome to Corsica Prime. You mentioned being pursued." The Kalen's sensory crests flattened slightly. "The Vexari ascendancy has been systematically expanding into neighboring systems, including our home. When we resisted, they responded with disproportionate force. We are among the few who escaped." "How did you find us?" Elena asked, unable to keep a note of suspicion from her voice. "We intercepted Vexari communications about an unauthorized human settlement," Treenlask explained. "We took a chance that any enemy of the ascendancy might offer shelter." Elena considered this. If true, these Kalens could provide valuable intelligence about Vexari capabilities and tactics. If false, they could be advanced scouts or saboteurs. "We will offer temporary sanctuary while we verify your story," she decided. "You'll understand if we limit your access to critical systems until then." The alien's translator produced what might have been a laugh. "Commander Reyes, we are 3 refugees in a scout vessel. You have an entire colony. If our intentions were hostile, we would be poor strategists indeed." Despite herself, Elena smiled. "Point taken. Still, protocols exist for a reason. Thomas will show you to quarters. Once you're settled, I'd like to hear more about your experiences with the Vexari." As the Kalens were escorted away, Marcus approached, his expression troubled. "Commander, we've detected unusual power fluctuations in the main mining complex. Systems are activating and deactivating without command input." "Sabotage?" Elena asked sharply. "Possibly, or some kind of remote scanning. Either way, it started shortly after the Vexari ship left orbit." "They're still watching us," Elena realized. "Lock down all critical systems and switch to manual overrides where possible. And double the guard on our new Kalen guests, just in case." Marcus nodded and hurried away. Elena turned back to watch the alien vessel, its hull still pulsing rhythmically like a living thing. An unexpected complication in an already precarious situation, but potentially a valuable ally, if they were telling the truth. 3 days later, Elena stood at the edge of a massive excavation site in Sector 9, 5 kilometers from the main colony. Treenlask stood beside her, the Kalen's height casting a long shadow in the late afternoon sun. "You were right," Elena admitted, staring at the partially uncovered structure. "It's definitely not natural." The discovery had begun with a routine expansion of the mining operation. Drill teams had encountered an impenetrable material that shattered 3 industrial-grade bits before they called in the survey team. Ground-penetrating radar revealed a massive geometric structure buried beneath 15 meters of sediment, clearly artificial and clearly ancient. "The great predecessors were here," Treenlask said, the translator giving the words a reverent quality, "as they were on many worlds." "You know of this civilization?" Helena asked, studying the exposed section of what appeared to be a massive curved wall made of an unknown metallic substance. "Only through legend. They vanished millennia ago, leaving behind remnants like this throughout the galaxy. The Vexari fear these sites, forbidding any study or excavation." Elena looked sharply at the alien. "Why?" The Kalen's sensory crests rippled. "There are stories that the predecessors left behind guardians, automated defense systems of incredible power. The Vexari avoid triggering them at all costs." Marcus approached from the excavation, dust covering his protective suit. "Commander, you need to see this. We found what looks like an entrance." They followed him down a newly cleared path to where several engineers were carefully removing soil from around a recessed area in the wall. Unlike the smooth surface elsewhere, this section featured intricate patterns etched into the metal, flowing lines that somehow suggested writing without resembling any alphabet Alina had ever seen. "It responds to energy signatures," Marcus explained excitedly. "When we brought the stellanite sample near it, these patterns began to glow." Alina turned to Treenlask. "Did you know this would happen? Is this why you suggested we dig here?" The Callan made a gesture that Alina had come to recognize as negative. "I knew only that where stellacite is found, predecessor ruins often exist. The connection between them is part of our oldest legends." "Commander," one of the engineers called out, "the patterns are changing." They turned to see the etched lines shifting, rearranging themselves like liquid metal. The movement accelerated, the patterns flowing faster until suddenly they locked into a new configuration, and the wall split along an invisible seam, revealing a darkened passage beyond. "Atmospheric readings," Alina demanded. "Breathable, ma'am," reported the technician monitoring the environmental sensors. "Slightly higher oxygen content than outside, stable temperature." Alina stared into the dark opening, feeling the weight of history pressing down on her. An alien structure, buried for who knew how many thousands of years, now open before them. What they found inside could change everything. Their understanding of the galaxy, possibly even their odds against the Vexari. "Secure a perimeter and set up proper lighting," she ordered. "No one enters until we've done a full remote scan." As her team rushed to comply, Alina glanced at Treenlask, whose attention was fixed on the doorway with what she interpreted as anticipation. "You said the Vexari fear these ruins," she said quietly. "Do the Kalan fear them as well?" The alien's translator was silent for a long moment before producing its response. "We respect them, Commander, and we hope. Our legends say that in times of great need, the predecessors' gifts awaken to aid those worthy of their legacy." Alina looked back at the colony in the distance, the fragile domes that housed her people, now under threat from an advanced and hostile power. They had 26 days left before the Vexari returned, and their defenses were cobbled together mining equipment at best. "Then let's hope we're worthy," she said, and gave the order to begin the expedition into the ancient structure. Defiance. The colony's main assembly dome had never held all of Corsica Prime's inhabitants at once. Until today. Alina looked out at the sea of faces: miners, engineers, medical staff, hydroponic specialists, and their families. 412 souls who had come to this distant world seeking opportunity, now facing an impossible choice. "The Vexari ultimatum leaves us with two options," Alina continued, her voice carrying through the dome's excellent acoustics. "We can comply with their demand and evacuate within 30 cycles, or we can stay and assert our claim to Corsica Prime." A murmur rippled through the crowd. "Evacuation presents significant challenges," Thomas explained, stepping forward with his datavat. "Even if our overdue supply ship arrives tomorrow, we have transport capacity for only about 40% of our population. The nearest UECA outpost is 17 days away at maximum speed. Best case scenario, we'd need 3 round trips to evacuate everyone. Which means the last group would still be here when the Vexari return," someone called out. "Precisely," Alina nodded. "We've sent distress signals to Earth and all nearby colonies, but given our position at the frontier, significant reinforcements would take at least 60 days to arrive. So we're abandoned." The question came from Sarah Jensen, one of the hydroponic specialists, holding her 5-year-old daughter's hand tightly. "Not abandoned," Alina corrected firmly. "Just on our own for now, as we've always been." Marcus Chen stood up from his seat in the front row. "Commander, with your permission." Alina nodded, and Marcus took her place at the podium. Unlike her carefully maintained commander's uniform, his coveralls were stained with the reddish soil of Corsica Prime and the various lubricants from the mining equipment he maintained. "Most of you know me as the guy who keeps the drills running," he began, earning a few appreciative chuckles. "What you may not know is that before joining the UVCA, I spent 15 years in Earth Defense Force engineering course." He activated a holographic display showing the colony's layout. Our mining equipment, specifically the gravitic drills and electromagnetic separators, operate on principles similar to certain defensive technologies. With modifications, we could repurpose them. Into weapons, someone asked incredulously. Into defenses, Marcus corrected. Gravitic repulsion fields, electromagnetic disruption barriers. We can't match their firepower, but we might be able to make this colony a much harder target than they're expecting. Dr. Isabel Wong, the colony's chief medical officer, stood up. Even if this works, and that's a significant if, we're talking about opposing a spacefaring civilization with technology far beyond ours. People will die. People might die either way, Marcus countered. The Vexeri gave no guarantees about how they'll remove us if we're still here after their deadline. Elena watched the debate unfold, seeing the colony divide itself before her eyes. Fear versus defiance. Survival versus principle. Everything she'd built for the past 3 years hanging in the balance. "There's something else you should know," she said, reclaiming the podium. The room fell silent. "Yesterday, before the Vexeri arrived, we discovered the richest stellanite vein yet, but Marcus found something unusual about this deposit." She nodded to Marcus, who held up a sample container with the iridescent crystalline material. "This isn't just ordinary stellanite. When exposed to specific energy frequencies, it exhibits properties that could revolutionize propulsion technology, energy storage, possibly even weapon systems. It's potentially the most valuable scientific discovery of the century. Which explains why the Vexeri are so eager to kick us out," Thomas added. Elena let that sink in before continuing. "I've spent the night reviewing our colony charter and UECA protocols. While we are instructed to avoid conflict when possible, we are also authorized to defend legitimate claims and strategically valuable discoveries. This qualifies as both." She squared her shoulders, feeling the weight of what she was about to propose. "I believe we should stay and defend what we've built. But this isn't a military operation. This is your home. The decision must be yours." The vote was conducted electronically, the results displayed on the main screen in real time. Elena watched the numbers climb with a mixture of pride and apprehension. Stay and defend, 347. Evacuate, 65. "Then it's decided," Elena announced, her voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "We stay. Those who voted to leave will be given priority on the first transport out when our supply ship arrives." Marcus was already there when Elena arrived, his scanner hovering over the platform. "It started 20 minutes ago," he explained. "First the patterns, then the platform. The energy readings are unlike anything I've ever seen. It's not electrical, not nuclear, not any power source I recognize." In the center of the platform stood a crystalline structure resembling a tree, its branches reaching toward the ceiling. At its base lay several stellanite samples they'd left for analysis. "The crystals are gone," Elena noted. "Not gone. Absorbed." Marcus pointed to the tree, where faint streaks of the stellanite's characteristic iridescence now ran through the translucent material. "It's integrating the mineral into its structure." Treenlask entered the chamber, flanked by 2 human security officers. The Kalen moved cautiously toward the platform, sensory crests fully extended. "It awakens," the alien said, the translator failing to mask the awe in its voice. "The heart of remembrance." "You know what this is?" Elena demanded. "Not precisely. Our legends speak of cores of knowledge left by the predecessors, repositories of their wisdom and history. I believe this may be one such device." Marcus's scanner beeped urgently, energy levels still climbing. "If this continues..." The crystalline structure suddenly flared with brilliant light, forcing them to shield their eyes. When Elena looked again, the space above the tree was filled with pinpoints of light. Stars, she realized. A 3-dimensional map of the galaxy. "It's beautiful," she breathed, watching as the map rotated slowly, certain regions glowing more brightly than others. Treenlask approached the edge of the platform. "These are the worlds where the predecessors established their presence. The alien explained, indicating the brighter points, including your Corsica Prime. The map suddenly zoomed in, focusing on their local sector of space. Several systems were highlighted, connected by lines of energy that pulsed rhythmically. A network, Marcus realized. They built some kind of interstellar network. Before they could explore further, Alina's comm unit chimed with Amira's urgent voice. "Commander, the Vexari scouts are changing orbit. They're moving toward our position." "They must have detected the energy surge," Marcus said. Alina made a swift decision. "Try to mask the power signature. Use the electromagnetic disruptors if necessary." She turned to Trinlask. "Your plan to capture a scout, is it ready?" "It can be, with minimal preparation," the Kalan confirmed. "Then prepare. We need that ship." The plan was audacious, possibly suicidal, but with no better options, Alina had approved it. The colony's remaining shuttle, piloted by Thomas with Shralven handling communications, would approach one of the Vexari scouts under the pretense of being a damaged vessel seeking assistance. The Kalan's knowledge of Vexari protocols and security codes would hopefully create enough confusion for them to get close. Meanwhile, the second Kalan, Miradex, would pilot their own small ship as a distraction, drawing the attention of the other two scouts. Alina watched from the command center as the mission unfolded, tension knotting her stomach. The shuttle launched cleanly, its transponder modified to appear as a non-military vessel. Approaching target, Thomas's voice came through the comms, tight with concentration.